Alright, welcome back everybody. It's Mr. Hayes again, and now I'm going to move on to some of the additional features that Forms has to kind of make your form a little bit more dynamic, adding in some titles and some images to kind of add some more elements to that. So we'll go through those now. So the first thing I want to show you is what's called a title. So a title is just that. It is not a question or anything that's answered, but it's a place where you can put a large heading and then some descriptive text if you like. It's a way of kind of breaking up different parts of your form, all contained within the same page. So for example, let's add a title right now. So as you see here, we have some information on, we're collecting from the person of last name, first name, mission statement. So we could add a title in that would be called personal information, right? And so along here is where you will add a title. When you select a title, it'll import into where you have selected. So if I select on the top here, it'll put it in right below it. I still have the option to move those around and so forth. So if I just change that to personal info, I can add more details like give some background, that sort of thing. But when we take a look at what that looks like in the viewable form, it's just to break a heading here. So one of the ways I like to use titles is to kind of shorten the length of a question as it would maybe appear on my spreadsheet. So any question that you title here will automatically be the column heading of your spreadsheet. So for example, if I have a really long question, like I've added in a question we used on our parent survey, this is a very long question, and when you come into my spreadsheet, you can see that, if we get here, there's that question. It's just a really big question, and it's important to have the whole question on there, but a way to make that maybe a little bit simpler would be to, let's say, add in a title. And I'm going to just copy this here and paste that into my title. And then here would be, what is your choice for programming? And that way then they read the question above and then the answers are here. And now this is another good point. So when you change questions in a form, it automatically changes the question in the spreadsheet. And that's important to know because you don't want to change the column headings in your spreadsheet. You want to change them in your form because that's what links into your spreadsheet. But now you can see the example here. I have a nice short question that is in there as my short question in my spreadsheet. So that's just another way you can use a title. There's lots of different ways you could use them, but that's one of the ways. The next part I'd like to talk about is sections. So sections are a way of creating breaks in your form which allow you to go to another page. So it divides things in multiple pages. And when we talked about in the settings how you could have a progress bar, that's where that progress bar really comes into play because it'll tell you the percentage of sections you have left. So again, when you add a section, whatever question you're selected on, it will insert below that. And here's our section header. So I'm going to add in a section. And you can see there's a definite break now between this part and here, this section here. So that you can clearly see now we're in section 2 of 2. This turns into 1 of 2. Your section is untitled. It's a good thing to name your section. Right now I'm just going to call it section 2, but you could be more descriptive. So depending on what your form is about, you could add some name of the title of the section, and that'll be important for another step I'll show you in a minute. But then now everything below that is in that section. So if I wanted to create a third section, I could click on the space above, the question above where I want the section, and say add section. I'm going to call that section 3. Now if you put the section in the wrong place, you have a couple options. I can move the section, so I can move it around in the order. I can merge it with the one above it, or I can delete it. Now, if you do select delete section, everything that is in that section will be deleted. So best to merge or grab your questions and move them out. So you can move them out of the section by just dragging them around. You cannot move sections that way, but you can use the 3 dots to do that. So that's how you create sections. And let's take a little look at what that looks like in real time. So, so here you can see I have my title, my personal information, and it goes through, asks some questions, and then I get a next button. Now, this one does have a required question. So I have to answer that question before I can move on to the next section. Oh, so there's this one. So there we go. We'll add that one in there next. And now I'm at section 2. And so again, I've got a couple of required questions, but once I go through those, I'll have the next. If you didn't notice at the bottom there was that back button. I can go to the back. It'll save my responses, but when I get to the final section, that is where I will see my submit button. So that's how sections work. Now, with sections, you have the ability to kind of pick and choose where your users go based on how they answer questions. And so for the multiple choice and I believe, let's see, we'll check it out. So, but for the multiple choice, for sure, you can have users go to different sections. So let me go to our grade. What do you teach? So if I have the teachers pick a grade and say, for example, K1 and 2 have certain information I want them to see, and 3, 4, and 5 have different information I want them to see, I can send them to that different information. So once I have this set up and I have my sections set up, I can choose go to section based on answer. So now that adds in this other option. And this is where it's important to name your sections. So if kindergarten 1 and 2 answer a certain way, I can say send them to section 2. So I can choose these, and then they will all go to section 2 no matter which one they choose. However, 3, 4, and 5 may go to section 3. Now, if they pick other, maybe I want them to just submit the form, which means they'll skip everything else that comes after this once they get done with the section, and then they will go on. So those are really nice, and you can actually have them merge back up again, because now that we've have them moving from section to section, notice what's at the bottom of a section. So if I didn't have any choice of which section they'll go to, the default is to continue on to the next section. Okay, but I can pick what section they go to, and that's for everybody instead of just that question. Or I can have them go to submit a form. So there's a lot of choices here in terms of how you plan this out. So I would suggest in this start kind of small, but again, you have the ability to choose where they want to go. So then after they continue on, if for example I did not pick a choice, so let's say 3rd grade did not get to pick, they would go to the next section automatically instead of following through. So you kind of have to make sure that you plan out where you're going to send everybody if you choose this option, and then also make sure that you test the form out yourself, because that's really where you don't want to get people stuck in a circle or lost, and you want to make sure that eventually they can submit. So if they complete section 2, that would move them on to the next section because there's no question after that, and section 3 would move them on to the submit form at the end, which is the final part of the Google form. So that's kind of sections in a nutshell. Next, we're going to move on to images and videos. So you can embed images and videos directly into your titles or questions, and even in your responses. So I have a question here set up called, what is your favorite fruit? So within that, anytime you see this little image button here, you can add in a image. So you click on the image button, and you have all these choices. You can take it right from your camera. You can paste in the URL. If you can go to your Google Photos, Google Drive, browse and drag in there. So I have some photos that I just recently saved. So I'll look for a piece of fruit, and that will pop it in right there. And then you have some options, so you can align it. You can change the picture, you can delete it, you can add a caption. So if I wanted to center align that, put it right in the center. If I click on the image, I can, decrease or increase the size, and then I can then add another. So let's say this is really nice. So if you have younger students, you can put in a picture for them, so it might help them with matching up. You get a picture of you get the word, they see the picture. So when somebody responds, it comes in just as the word, but those pictures are really nice for them to help support them in the form. So you can also add images just as like a section header. So if I wanted to add in, not a section header, but a title. So that would be creating a title and have the image right in it. And you can title it, you can title that. And then additionally, you can also add in video. So if I click on the video button, I can search by URL, or so I can paste in the URL if I have the link to the video. And this really only works with YouTube and Vimeo. Or you can search a title in YouTube and it will bring up a list. So if I wanted to add in, for example, this video about Nearpod, I can add that in, and then this will play right in the form. So I can title it. And then again, I have my options. I can make it bigger or smaller. And we'll add in our center. And so if we take a look at what that looks like in the real form, so you can kind of see there how that would be organized, my picture of my title, and then when I click to play,
introducing Nearpod.
Right
with Nearpod
form. So this is really nice if you have an intro video of something, or you want to maybe you want to give your own video directions. I haven't tried a Loom link, but if you uploaded that to YouTube, or that would be a way to get that in there, so you could give some little bit of a direction if you wanted to. Lots of different options. I mean, I just want to kind of show you what these are so you can kind of take them and run with them. All right, so next I'm going to show you quickly how you can change the basic look of your form through colors and fonts and things like that. So up at the top here we have the paint palette, and this is where you can customize your theme. And you have a few options. So the header is basically what's up at the top of your form. If we look back at our question here, there's just a basic color. I can choose a header image, and if I pick something, they've got some preloaded choices here. So you can kind of look and see what they have here. There's an education one, I believe it's at the work and school. And so you can kind of see how those look. If I want to add something kind of like a science theme, go ahead and insert that. And then that'll put that header up there. It automatically changes your theme, but you have the ability to adjust that theme color. You can pick the scale. You can choose what type of background you want, and then also with your font. One thing I would recommend here is, depending on what you're trying to collect, using a basic font is usually the best. It gives the user the best readability. But it's nice to change up the questions, even if you don't use, for example, a header. Adding different colors to your form will allow those to see the difference between the forms, so that they don't all look like the same form. They can tell they're filling out a different one. And then you also have the ability to upload a photo, so you can browse or drag something in there and then go right to your Google Photos as well. So those are the options you have in terms of kind of changing the look or the theme of your form. The last thing I wanted to show you was the import question. So a nice feature is if you start making forms and you have questions that you may want to reuse over and over again, you can click the import question. You can click on another form. So if I click on the student technology support, here are all the forms that are the questions I used from that form. So let's say, for example, I have a grade question on there and I import that. That will put that in there. I use that as a short answer question, but it will put it in there so that they can respond to that. So it's just a way to kind of reuse questions. So that's all I'm going to cover for this part of the forms. Our next video will focus on how to send out your form and work with collaborators. All right, thanks.